Welcome to the entire Fortnite storyline explained in one video. And now all I ask
into doing it for them.
What the 7 of us are attempting is very risky. I suspect
The storyline of Fortnite for years has been incredibly complicated to understand, but we have finally gotten our clearest timeline of the storyline than ever before. And to be clear, this isn't just a recap for Chapter 3, this is everything you need to know in a single video, whether it's your first time ever seeing the storyline or if you've been a die-hard fan. Welcome to the entire Fortnite Chapter 2 storyline explained. Now there's a few things you have to know first before this story begins, and those are the basic core points to the world of Fortnite. When Chapter 1 first began, this island seemed like a normal sandbox video game map that was for a while until things just seemed out of place. Random bunkers would appear out of nowhere with no explanation. The island was always attacked by the most random things like a cube or a giant lizard. We knew something was wrong with this place, but we just couldn't figure out what. And then eventually everything was revealed. You might be familiar with the Big Bang. This was the event that created everything we know. And in the Fortnite storyline, the Big Bang was caused by an energy known as the 0 point. It's essentially God. And so with an energy as powerful as this one, it attracts a lot of attention. And so for billions of years, the 0 point has had to protect itself. And as a permanent solution, it created an island with a deadly storm on it. In a universe full of unlimited realities, this is Reality Zero, the Fortnite Island. And so fast forward billions of years, and an organization known as the Imagined Order has taken over the island and gained control of the 0 point. They build a headquarters called the Bridge underneath the island and add impenetrable bunkers for easy access to the surface. For thousands of years, the Imagined Order learns more and more about the 0 point and uses its energy to create something called the Loop. Because the 0 point created every single reality in existence, the IO uses it as a portal and they just kidnap people from whatever reality they want. Yes, they bring random people to the island and trap them in this loop, which erases their memories, stops them from speaking, and forces them to fight each other over and over again for eternity. This is what creates Battle Royale. But there is one catch. If someone leaves the loop, it creates a clone of them and traps them in the loop instead, and that is called a snapshot. And so now you know the basics of how the Fortnite Island works, it is time to delve into the mind-bending story that Chapter 2 has revealed, where everything began to click at the end of Chapter 1. Over the years, the 0 point attracted many things to the island, but eventually it became too unstable and looked like it was on the verge of imploding. Luckily, there was a group of people who were brave enough to save it. This was the 7, a mysterious group who are dedicated to protecting reality. You see, the Imagined Order don't know enough about the 0 point to contain it, so they send their field agent John Jones to manipulate the 7 into doing it for them.
what the 7 of us are attempting is very risky. I suspect they are not the only ones watching, but it must be done or we lose the bridge forever. When I hear this again, will it help me remember? Or once looped, will I be just as muted as the others? No matter, it seems the lengthy precautions worked. What I didn't factor was that the only way to trigger the device was from within the loop itself. Thus this hasty and primitive recording. And why now I find myself looped. The 0 point must be contained once more. If they are correct, it will be the end.
And so it was the end. The entire Chapter 1 island was sucked into the 0 point and spat back out as a new refurbished island. Every single thing that was there in Season X is reorganized into a fresh new place to keep the 0 point and the bridge protected once more. The 7's job was complete. And here we are, Fortnite Chapter 2. We don't have much time to admire the island because the Imagined Order have already sent a scout team named Ego to search for any problems. Nothing noteworthy happens until the end of Season 1 though, when a mysterious man named Midas appeared on the island. Midas is an ex-employee of the Imagined Order who decided that the loop and the whole kidnapping people to murder each other idea was, pretty unethical. So he recruits loopers from all around and turns them into secret agents who give him total surveillance of the island. He gets to work on a device that will push back the storm, destroy the loop, and free everyone trapped on the island. But while he's working on this device though, the Imagined Order don't exactly sit there and take it lightly. They create a war on the island between two teams named Ghost and Shadow to try and cause chaos and stop Midas from working on his device. But unfortunately, their plan fails, and Midas eventually completes the device. After months of waiting, he activates it and works just like a makeshift 0 point, eventually pushing back the storm, breaking the loop. And for a moment, everything is peaceful. He did it. While Midas worked hard, he didn't account for one thing, that the storm wasn't made by the imagined order. It's actually alive, and well, it doesn't exactly go down without a fight.
You even... Wait. Can you hear me? Hear me?
And with the storm flooding the entire island and the loop being back under control, the imagined order can finally continue with their plan. But first, they have to deal with something. Now that's out of the way, their plan is in motion. Sure, they have control of the 0 point, but the IO don't know enough about it to have true power over the universe. That's their end goal. But before they can get to that, a new threat presents themselves. You see, when the 0 point created the Chapter 2 island, it used a lot of energy, and that energy attracted a cosmic being known as Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds. He has been making his way to the island for months, giving Thor enough time to summon the Avengers. So he brings them to the island and asks for their help, and Tony Stark realizes that if Galactus gets his hands on the 0 point, it could destroy reality as we know it. So Stark builds rift beacons around the map over the course of the next few weeks, and uses them to bring his Stark Industries lab onto the island. He then uses Stark Industries to work on his plan to defeat Galactus. He gathers battle buses and upgrades them, fitting them with explosives, cannons, and lasers. So eventually, after months of preparation, we look up to the sky and see Galactus. He is no longer just a shining star in the distance. He is coming fast, and by the time Tony Stark finishes his plan, Galactus is already here.
Hey, welcome to the party. You look like someone who needs a jetpack. There you go. We gotta stop Galactus from eating the 0 point. You are free, right?
And with Galactus minutes away from devouring reality, Tony Stark finally explains what his plan actually is to us.
I hacked your time loop thingy, made a few billion battle bus clones, and then turned them all into very powerful bombs. We need to get Galactus to eat as many buses as possible before he's done with the 0 point. If everything goes right, it'll open a portal and send him back where he came from.
The Avengers help us throughout the event as we fight Galactus and his army of drones until eventually...
Looks like he's taking the bait. Let's get you out of there. If this works, it's return to sender for all of us. And if it doesn't work, well, we had some laughs, right? Either way, you did good.
This is not possible.
You did it! Thank you, bus driver.
It is done. Galactus is defeated, the Avengers have returned home, the island is back to normal, and we are back on track. But there's just one problem. Galactus, in trying to eat the 0 point, has exposed it.
They did it. We're still here.
Yeah, but the 0 point is exposed. You have to go in.
Oh, come on. Last thing we need is another snapshot of me inside the loop.
No. The last thing we need is someone escaping the loop. You need to get in there and fix it.
Understood, ma'am. I'm on it.
And do not draw the attention of the 7. Jones, are you there?
I just need to stabilize the 0 point and reseal the bridge, but not let anyone escape. Easy, right? Okay. Locate the best hunters across all realities.
Signatures triangulated and defined. Execute.
This better work.
In Season 5, an Agent Jones is instructed to use the Zero Point to travel between realities and recruit the best hunters in the universe to stop any loopers from escaping. Now he uses his trusty portal gun to protect it from being stuck in the loop and begins his search for hunters. On Jump 15, he recruits Daryl and Michonne from The Walking Dead. By Jump 31, he's gotten Ryu and Chun-Li from Street Fighter, and then when Jump 42 comes around, he recruits one of the last hunters, Ripley and the Xenomorph from Alien. Jones jumps between realities 88 times while doing his job, leaving reality logs for the Imagined Order each time he finds a new hunter. But while he has been distracted doing this, the Zero Point has gotten more and more unstable. Eventually, the Zero Point is almost on the verge of imploding once again. And to his shock, the Imagined Order haven't been doing anything while he's been out on the field working his butt off, so understandably, he gets pretty upset.
Reality log doesn't even matter. What's the point of recording these logs if you're not gonna listen? We've lost control of the Zero Point. Do you get what that means? You must not, because you're doing nothing. I've dedicated my life to the Order. I've given everything. And for what? To just sit back and watch reality end? That's not who we are. At least it's not who I am. Not anymore.
And just like that, he abandons the Imagined Order, turning his back on the organization he's dedicated his life's work to. He decides to take matters into his own hands. The Zero Point is on the verge of completely exploding, and this time the Seven isn't there for the Imagined Order to manipulate, so instead, John Jones takes matters into his own hands.
This is Agent Jones requesting access to Restricted File 8752. This is Agent Jones requesting access to Restricted File 8752. Oh, really? No time to stabilize reality, but plenty of time to revoke my credentials. This is Agent Jones requesting access to all materials related to the Seven. Oh, great! Okay, if you're not gonna give me what I need, I'm just gonna have to take it.
Except the Seven are pretty angry at him for manipulating them during the end event. He has it all figured out though, so he turns his back on the IO for good and rushes to save the Zero Point in time. He has to get through all of the hunters he spent months recruiting, but luckily he gets there just in time. Now the Seven can't get to the island without help, so Jones sets his portal gun to their location and throws it into the Zero Point. The Seven receive his portal gun and use it to transport themselves to the island. The meteor crashes down, the door opens, and the Foundation is revealed.
Look, I know you have no reason to trust me, but... Oh, no. Hang on! Let's talk! Let's talk! Geno! I can get you to Geno.
And the sisters?
I can get you all of them. But I need your help to fix that.
You have a deal. For now.
Oh, that's very reassuring.
Time to get to work.
As you saw, Jones struck a deal with the Foundation, promising him access to Geno, the leader of the Imagined Order, and the Sisters, his trusted employees. We have yet to meet any of them, and we'll learn more about them in Chapter 3. But as per the deal, the Foundation helps John Jones stop the Zero Point from imploding. As it breaks down and is on the brink of tearing itself apart, the Zero Point brings all kinds of realities to the island, and it begins blooming like a flower. Jones says that he spent his whole life studying the Zero Point, but this is the first time he's really seen the true energy at the center of the shell. But unfortunately, the Foundation can't continue the blooming process. It is about to explode. There's only one option left. To contain the explosion, the Foundation seals himself and the Zero Point into a tower of stone. But for this to work, John Jones has to overload his portal device to truly contain it inside of the spire. And of course, with no portal gun, Jones will be trapped in the loop. But it's a sacrifice he is willing to make. The Foundation then seals himself in the Zero Point, and we are thrown into Season 6. The island becomes primal while the Zero Point heals. John Jones is missing, and the Imagined Order have set up guards all around the spire to protect the Zero Point. With all of our main characters taking a break from things, we're introduced to someone new, Raz. Raz is an explorer obsessed with learning the secrets of the Spire. He claims it called to him in his dreams as a kid, so he does everything he can to learn about it. He begins by investigating the crystals of the Spire after hearing the final reality log left by John Jones warning people to listen to the Crystal Song. Once you gather supplies and pickaxe the crystals for Raz, you hear a high-tech hum coming from them. Sure sounds like the Foundation is trying to communicate from within the Spire. So he tries again. This time Raz constructs a device that can translate the hums from the crystal, and this is the message that gets decoded. So you get sent on a quest to talk to as many snapshots of Agent Jones that you could find, trying to get some kind of answer to all of this. Of course, most of the snapshots have no memory of anything and just can't help you. But then we come to Jonesy the First, a snapshot who knows a lot more than he lets on. After we defeat him in a duel, he reveals that the Spire and the 0 point inside of it can give someone a lot of power but exploit their every weakness. He warns us not to let someone powerful be corrupted by the Spire, otherwise Jones won't stand a chance of escaping. And so now we have to rush back before the Spire attracts attention from and that's when he's cut off. When we head back to Raz, we're already too late. Raz has been fully corrupted by an artifact he found at the Spire. He becomes Glyph Master Raz, and then uses a shard of cube energy to fight us. After a long and hard battle, we defeat him and take the artifact away from him. But meanwhile on the island, Batman has been trapped in the loop after he was investigating a rift in Gotham City. Since getting trapped, he has built a shack, written down notes for himself every time his memory gets reset, and prepared an escape plan. With the help from Catwoman, Batman escapes the loop by standing in the center of the storm and being the only person left alive. He then comes across a gang of island dwellers who all escape the loop on their own. They form an alliance and decide to get off the island for good. But if you go too far out from the island, you literally just evaporate, so they can't do that. They need to get back to their own reality the same way they came here, through the 0 point. So Batman is actually able to unlock one of the bunkers on the island, and they make their way into the Imagined Order headquarters. After fighting golems, IO guards, and other enemies, the gang finally get to the bridge. Batman's detective skills are put to the test as he figures out how to use the IO's technology to open a portal. He realizes that the 0 point connects every single reality in the universe to each other, and that it's flicking through millions of realities every second. He needs to make it open a portal to a specific reality, not millions at once. He finally figures it out and helps some of the gang get back home, but not before he is betrayed by one of them. Deathstroke reveals he has been working for the Imagined Order this entire time. He returns to Gotham City, and Batman, Catwoman, and Harley Quinn go after him. And so this journey ends with a big reveal. Lex Luthor and the Batman Who Laughs talking to a mysterious figure from the Imagined Order and making a deal with her. And now we are back on the island. The unwanted attention that Jonesy the First was talking about, well, it's coming. UFOs begin showing up around the island and abducting loopers. We end up investigating things like crop circles, alien symbols appearing on TVs and farms, and a lot more. But loopers begin to pick up on this. A conspiracy theorist named Mari creates a radio show where she warns the people of the island about the incoming threat of aliens. But her broadcast doesn't last long, as she is contacted by the same person we saw in Gotham City. She orders us to destroy the TVs with alien symbols on it and shuts down Mari's broadcast. But just before Mari ends, she reveals that the name of the invaders is The Last Reality. But we don't even have time to process this, because before we know it, the invasion is The Last Reality. But we don't even have time to process this, because before we know it, the invasion has begun. Reality has arrived, and the Imagined Order are not happy about it. They sent Dr. Sloan, who was Agent Jones's boss and is a highly professional leader of the IO, to the island to deal with the problem. Now that Jones is gone, she has to do it herself. She sets up IO bases all over the island and builds her own headquarters underneath Corny Crops. And it's here they study the mothership floating above the island. Eventually, the mothership sends down UFOs and an alien species known as the Chimera to annihilate everyone on the island. However, it turns out the Chimera end up being a pretty easy force to fight off. The only true threat is the huge mothership in the sky, and Sloan has got to do something about it. While they're coming up with a plan, the mothership is already hard at work. It moves around the island, slowly abducting entire locations. It takes Slurpy Swamp and Coral Castle and sends the Chimera to completely overrun Holly Hedges. Meanwhile, the last reality scans our minds in an attempt to figure out where the 0 point is and how it exactly works. But Sloane is one step ahead of them. She realizes that there's a mole in the imagined order, leaking information to the aliens. Eventually, she figures out that it is actually Maven leaking info, but instead of punishing her, Sloane gives her fake information instead. Maven eventually snitches to the aliens, telling them that the IO's secret base of operations is at Corny Crops. And yes, it is, but at this point, Sloane has built a huge bomb into the complex. Of course, the aliens abduct the POI just as planned, and eventually, Operation Skyfire is a go. It was time to put an end to this invasion once and for all. Sloane gathers a team of loopers, aka us, to get abducted onto the mothership and make sure everything goes smoothly. Once we're abducted, we break out of prison and make our way through the mothership, dodging guards and spotting many Easter eggs along the way. Eventually, we make our way to the abduction chamber, where we can see that Corny Complex and all of the bombs attached to it is primed and ready to go. The plan is going pretty smoothly, and Sloane arms the bombs. But the last reality have a trick or two up their sleeve.
The signal was cut off. I'll figure this out. Just stay alive. This is impossible. We thought it was gone for good. Last time it nearly destroyed the island. Okay, we need to hit this thing hard and fast.
Yeah, not good. So we fend off this cube and shut it down, then get back to arming the bombs. We're successful, and with 2 minutes left until detonation, Sloane gives us some pretty bad news.
You played your part. Now I have to play mine. We are fighting a war in which we are hopelessly outgunned. I won't bring you home.
She betrayed us and leaves us to die on the mothership. But we weren't giving up anytime soon. We go to the dying cube and we use our collective power to revive it, turning it blue. But then the elevator begins to rise, taking us higher and higher into the mothership. And this is where the grand reveal sets in. The aliens didn't bring back the cube from Chapter 1. There are thousands of cubes out there. They are the last reality. The aliens were just an enslaved army. But before we even have time to register this, Sloane's bombs detonate. The mothership is blown to pieces, and we are falling down towards the island, preparing for the worst. We're hit by falling debris, and everything cuts to black. With all of these cubes crashed onto the island, it is an absolute disaster. The last reality may have lost their mothership, but they are still our most dangerous opponent yet. And among all of these cubes, there is one golden cube controlled by the Cube Queen. She has revealed herself, saying that she will stop at nothing until we are all completely wiped out. We are going to be just like every other reality she has destroyed and enslaved. Except if the FORTNITE island is destroyed, that is a gigantic problem. Because if the 0 point is destroyed, so is everything else. Reality itself will be totally annihilated. So the Queen finally begins her plan. She takes her golden cube and makes her way to each of the stranded cubes around the island, awakening them one by one. She then uses her energy to clone them, producing hundreds of baby-sized cubes. Eventually, they all move towards the center of the island, directly above the 0 point. With all of her cubes in the right position, she emerges from hers and reveals her true form. She then seals herself inside of a corruption bubble while the cubes merge together to create a huge town. And eventually, this town becomes a pyramid, with the golden cube pointing directly into the sky and also directly downwards towards the bridge. The Cube Queen not only wants to destroy the island using her cube monsters, but this is just the beginning of her evil plan. She wants to go further. Instead of just destroying our reality, the Cube Queen wants to destroy every reality that has ever existed. And there's only one way for her to do that, with the 0 point. The fact that the 0 point is the key to every single reality out there, she just needs control of it, and she could use that power to destroy every single thing that has ever lived, leaving her and her minions as the only thing left standing. And that would complete her plan and truly make them the last reality. In the meantime, Dr. Sloan is gathering alien devices from abductor crash sites and taking them to an emergency IO bunker to study them. But over on the other side of the island, the blue cube lays dormant, ignoring all of the Cube Queen's demands and sitting still, waiting to be activated. And while Sloan and the Queen prepare their plans, a familiar face finally returns. The Foundation, after months of being in a coma underwater, has awoken. But he isn't on the same island. He wakes up in Gotham City and runs into Batman, who attempts to interrogate him. Eventually, they stop fighting when the Foundation explains he has sworn enemies with the Imagined Order. He reveals that he and the Seven want to take down the IO and free the 0 point. The Foundation is currently living his biggest nightmare, as Gino has control of the 0 point and the Imagined Order are finally beginning to learn its secrets and gain true power over the universe. Batman eventually agrees to help the Foundation get back to the island. We also learn a few things from this encounter, like how the Seven all wear their iconic suits, as it is airtight and protects them from the effects of the loop. Suddenly, the Foundation gets dragged through a rift by the Batman Who Laughs, who's posing as the real Batman to lure him to the island. They fight, and the Foundation's visor gets cracked, leaving him vulnerable to the loop. However, he wins the battle and stands in the middle of the storm while being the only one left, the method for escaping the loop. He realizes that he needs to find Jones immediately after spotting just how much has happened since he was thrown from the spire all of those seasons ago. Once he finds Jones, then he can get to Gino, the sisters, and finally take down the evil Imagined Order once and for all. This journey is only just beginning, and it will continue when everything reaches its climax in the Chapter 2 finale. Yes, you are now fully caught up on the entire FORTNITE storyline and prepared for Chapter 3. This video has been a long time in the making. I mean, seriously, we've been paying attention to the storyline for years, so thank you guys so much for your support. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming. Royale that resets every 22 minutes, and the best warriors are recruited by the Imagined Order. For thousands of years, the IO has done this without any interruption, but someone's 10 minutes to explain the entire FORTNITE storyline. Let's begin. This orb of energy right here is called the 0 point. Rather than a character or a group, the story not only revolves around this, but also started it. Yes, it is so powerful that it caused the Big Bang, creating the universe, life, and a small little island we know as Reality Zero. You see, the 0 point is so powerful, it needs constant protection from anyone trying to control it for themselves. So it created the FORTNITE island and covered it with a violent storm that is constantly closing in and resetting, effectively creating a loop. Fast forward billions of years, and an organization known as the Imagined Order somehow manages to do exactly that. This group, set up by a mysterious being named Geno, uses its power to take control of the storm and build a huge headquarters between both islands known as the Bridge. They begin using the 0 point to teleport to other realities, kidnapping random people and trapping them in this loop. Here they're forced to participate in a constant battle royale that resets every 22 minutes, and the best warriors are recruited by the Imagined Order. For thousands of years, the IO has done this without any interruption, but someone steps up to the challenge. A group of vigilantes emerge, dedicated to taking down the Order and freeing the 0 point. They're led by the Foundation, a strong and intelligent brute, and joining him is the Visitor and the Scientist, who explore and analyze hundreds of worlds. The Paradigm is their pilot and engineer who follows the plans of the Origin, their tactician. The group is completed by the Imagined and the Order, two sisters who are rumored to be the daughters of Geno. They create the Seven and take an oath to destroy the Imagined Order for good, but the IO has bigger problems. Over the years, the Zero Point's energy attracts dangerous creatures. Mysterious beings like a purple cube appear, trying to get the Zero Point by destroying the island. Others are much closer to home, with a shard of a nearby planet crashing into the ocean. This contains the Ice King and a creature that was growing in his dungeon. With this monster about to break free, the Imagined Order turns to the Paradigm, and after striking a deal with her, she joins the IO under a new name, Singularity. The Paradigm builds a huge robot to fight off the monster, resulting in the final showdown. She struggles to defeat it, but is able to use the Zero Point to finally take it down. But her job wasn't done. While the island was saved, she decides to investigate where this monster came from, and disappears into space. With the Zero Point exposed and breaking down fast, the Imagined Order doesn't understand how to fix it, so the 7 steps in. They basically say, have you tried turning it off and turning it on again using a couple rockets? And it works, resetting the island and healing the Zero Point. But this new island doesn't remain peaceful for long. In the Imagined Order's Doomsday Division, an engineer named Midas is beginning to question his work. The loop isn't ethical, and he wants to destroy it from the inside. Alongside his daughter Jules, he works on a device that will push back the storm and sabotage the IO's plans. When his machine is finally finished and the countdown hits 0, Midas's plan works. The storm is defeated, and for a moment, everything is peaceful. Besides the Imagined Order's headquarters, who are scrambling to stop it. Here we're introduced to John Jones, a field agent who has spent his whole life working for the IO. For years, he has traveled onto the island to study the loopers, leaving behind a snapshot of himself with each journey. You see, every time someone leaves this loop, it creates a version of themselves that remains, and that is why you see so many variations of someone. So Jones is tasked with stopping Midas's plan, and with the storm pushed back, he had given up hope, until it did something extraordinary. It fought back. The water between the islands rose, creating a wall and wiping out Midas's device. Once the water sinks back down to a normal level, we're already fighting off more villains who are trying to get the Zero Point, and this leaves it exposed once again. While the Imagined Order works on a way to fix this, they don't want anyone jumping into the Zero Point and returning home. So one of the IO's leaders, Dr. Sloan, gives Agent Jones a new mission. He has to recruit the galaxy's best bounty hunters to stop anyone from escaping the loop. So throughout the next few months, Jones travels through 88 different realities, and by the time he finishes his job, he learns the IO didn't do theirs. The Zero Point is on the brink of imploding again, so he begs Dr. Sloan to do something, but she doesn't listen. Sloan is dedicated to solving the problem herself rather than admitting they need the Seven's help again. Jones realizes that there's no time to waste. The Zero Point is literally minutes away from destroying reality.
Now get out of there!
I'm gonna do what we should have done from the very start. I'm going to the 7th.
And so he summons the Foundation and asks for his help to contain the Zero Point. In return, he promises to help him get to the mysterious Geno, and the Foundation agrees. But it's already too late to save the Zero Point, and the only option is to contain the blast. He creates a tower of stone around the Zero Point and seals himself inside. The sacrifice pays off and saves reality, but no time to celebrate. Agent Jones is arrested by the Imagined Order, and the Foundation is trapped inside the spire. Small UFOs begin to appear around the island, abducting loopers, running experiments, leaving behind crop circles, and more. But by the time the Imagined Order notices, the Chimera have already arrived. They obliterate the spire, and we watch the Foundation seemingly fall to his death. Dr. Sloan needs to react fast, so she sets up a command center named Corny Complex to come up with a plan. This is where Sloan begins work on Operation Skyfire, a way to take down the mothership and save Reality Zero for good. She notices that the aliens are abducting nearby towns and decides this is the perfect opportunity to set up an ambush. She purposely leaks the location of Corny Complex to the enemy, plants dozens of bombs into the ground, and of course, the aliens fall right into her trap. They abduct the base and all of the bombs underneath into the mothership, but Operation Skyfire won't work without the help of the loopers, so Sloan sends us into the mothership to make sure everything goes smoothly. On our way to activate the bombs, we set off the alarm, but instead of being swarmed by alien soldiers, the Chimera send their true army.
This is impossible. We thought it was gone for good.
The cube from all those years ago is back and begins annihilating the loopers. Now we're able to shut it down before more damage is done and return to the mission at hand, arming the bombs. With the clock ticking, Operation Skyfire was all but a success. But Dr. Sloan is terrified by this cube and doesn't want to risk it coming back to the island, so she betrays all of us and leaves us to die on the mothership. We don't go down easily though. The loopers work together to revive the cube, turning it bright blue and activating the elevator. As we head into the main chamber, everything is explained. The cube from all those years ago was gone for good. What Sloan failed to consider was that it was just one of thousands. The Chimera were just a decoy. This is the true army. And all the way at the back, their golden leader, the Cube Queen. But it's too late. The bombs detonate and the last reality is unleashed upon the island. Cubes are everywhere and the Queen is already beginning her attack, so she summons her army to the center of the island and uses them to create a gigantic pyramid. With this power, she'll be able to open a portal between the FORTNITE island and the last reality's homeworld. We've already seen what a single cube could do. Imagine what happens when 100,000 arrive. As usual, the Imagined Order doesn't even have a plan. But whenever the island has been in danger, they have refused to fix it, and I know this is the storyline explained, but I don't really got a reason for this. So with the IO once again ignoring the fact that reality is about to end, the island calls out to the Seven. Ever since we watched the Foundation fly into the water, the rest of the group have been putting together a plan to take down the cubes and the IO in one quick sweep. With the Queen's portal beginning to open, we catch a glimpse of the force she's about to unleash upon us. With the help of the blue cube, we hold off their army for a few minutes, but not before witnessing one of the saddest deaths in the FORTNITE storyline. We still miss you, buddy. Meanwhile, Agent Jones is about to have his mind wiped by Dr. Sloan and Gunner. While the rest of the world fights upstairs, these two want to teach Jones a lesson, and as they turn on the machine, they're ambushed by an old friend. The Foundation survived the explosion and has returned to free Jones. The rest of the Seven save the loopers on the surface as they make their way to the control chamber. Here, Jones turns off the gyroscope, rotating the island and taking the last reality by surprise. For the final phase of the plan, they make their way to the 0 point. The cubes had completely taken over the surface, but they would be safe here. Or so they thought. Yeah, caretakers apparently breathe underwater and were thrown into the ocean just in time to watch the island flip. The Cube Queen's portal closes and her army crashes into the ocean. We defeat her, but the Seven's battle is only half complete. For years, the Imagined Order has been fighting the Seven over control of the 0 point, but with the island flip, the Seven revealed their true location at the Sanctuary. Thanks to the Caretaker, their attack on the Imagined Order was cut short, leaving them vulnerable. It was time to prepare for the worst possible outcome. After years of tension, the Seven and the IO were finally about to go to war. Drills and earthquakes could be felt underneath the surface as Sloan prepared her counterattack. The Seven's biggest problem was that they weren't fully united. If they wanted to defend themselves against the IO, they would need the Paradigm. She was last seen flying the mech towards the Ice Moon, and it turns out that for 3 years she has been stranded there. As the Seven work on a plan to bring her home, the Imagined Order strike. They drill through the surface, quickly taking over the island and surrounding the Sanctuary. But thanks to the help of the Loopers, we fight back, recapturing key positions every single week. This is the last straw for Dr. Sloan. She is sick of the Seven and the Resistance and decides to just start all over again. So she goes to the Doomsday Division and asks them to create the Collider, a huge device that will destroy the Loop and everyone on the island. Over in the Ice Moon, the Seven finally regroup with the Paradigm. They can't allow Sloan to win, and their best shot at destroying the Collider was the mech. So with some repairs and upgrades, it's time for battle. After years of tension and months of fighting, the war between the IO and the Seven is finally about to end, and only one of them will survive. The mech launches from the Ice Moon, flying straight towards the island. We fight off the IO forces, blowing up tanks and slicing blimps. After some struggles and falling into Sloan's trap, we're left to finish the battle on foot. Just before Sloan can shoot Jones, the Paradigm delivers one final blow.
Any last words, Jones?
Look out.
The Collider is destroyed and the Imagined Order has been taken down once and for all. There's only one score left to settle, Geno. Jones and the Foundation chase after him, and we begin a new chapter of the FORTNITE storyline. The entire FORTNITE Chapter 2 story is coming to an end, and comparing what we knew at the beginning of this chapter to the end is insane. From learning how the loop works to a new secret about John Jones that could blow up the entire storyline, let's kick it off with a secret everyone should know about: the Foundation. One of the most important parts of the whole storyline is the existence of something called snapshots. And we were only introduced to them at the beginning of the year, but it explained practically everything we didn't know about how FORTNITE works. Basically, the loop is how the FORTNITE island resets itself and everyone on it every 22 minutes, and it's controlled by the Imagined Order and makes everyone fight each other in kind of like a battle royale. But it turns out this also results in something called a snapshot. And essentially, the loop is not designed for people to escape it, so when someone is trapped in the loop escapes or even just leaves it, then it actually creates a clone of them and puts that in the loop instead. A great example of this is Agent Jones. He was an employee of the Imagined Order, and whenever he went to do his work and entered the loop, he'd eventually leave the loop to go back home and would create a new snapshot. And so because of this, there are tons of people on the island that look exactly like Jon Jones, except they're all wearing different outfits and stuff. We even have an explanation for this one now. On a lot of missions, the islanders might actually remember Jon Jones, so to remain undercover, he would enter the loop with random costumes like a dinosaur outfit and a lot more. And then the loop would create a snapshot of him after he leaves the loop, and ta-da, you have the Rex skin. It's pretty crazy because it explains exactly how skins are even released in Fortnite. And if you remember, Jon Jones himself wasn't even a skin in the game until Season 6, when he became trapped in the loop. And Epic did the same thing for Batman characters, like when Armor Batman Zero entered the loop in the comics, he released in the shop on the same day. And here's where the secret comes, because it also explains why the Foundation hasn't even been released yet as a skin. You have to understand, his skin has literally been in the file since Season 6, and yet he's still not out yet. And that's probably because the Foundation story is only just beginning, and he hasn't been trapped in the loop yet because of his armor suit. The comics really explain this one. And speaking of skins releasing in the shop, that brings us to the release of Naruto. We have been waiting for Naruto to drop since he was leaked in those Epic vs. Apple documents like half a year ago. And the wait has been painful, that's for sure. But don't worry, because Naruto is literally days away. Yes, finally Fortnite has acknowledged that he exists. His set is finally confirmed to be dropping on November 16th at 9 AM EST, and he will also be coming with a creative hub based on the Hidden Leaf Village. I'm just happy to know that his release date is finally here. We have something to look forward to again. But if you want to get back to the storyline, then you have to know how to escape the loop. So you learn what the loop is, how it works, and who controls it. But something that nobody really knows is how to escape the loop. We've heard tales of many characters doing it, and Midas himself even attempted to destroy the loop for good during the device event. But we never knew how to actually escape until the Batman comics were released. We found out that in order to escape, you have to stand in the exact center of the storm circle when the loop resets. That means everyone else dies from the storm, and then you emerge as the winner. We have no idea how it works or why this is the way to escape, but hey, it is what it is. And something that really shocked all of us, though, was when we learned about the Midas and Sloan secret. Now, we don't know much about the origins of the Imagined Order. They're pretty mysterious in their own right. But back in Season 7, we learned something insane about them. If you went to Corny Complex and located Sloan's temporary office inside of the IO base, you could find some very interesting pictures on the wall. And one of these pictures was an old photo of Sloan as a teenager, writing formulas onto a chalkboard in front of her class. And if you look into the audience, you could actually spot a very familiar face. Of course, it is Midas himself. Now, this blew all of our minds at the time, because not only did it reveal how Midas knew about the loop and how to destroy it, but it also shows that he knew Sloan personally and might have been in the same class as her. Whether this is the Imagined Order's Academy and Midas was an ex-employee, that's in the air, but it is a huge secret. And something that we just learned about was the Spirit World secret. Recently, something's been revealed that explains not only the story of Dark Jonesy, but also explains Raz and even has a connection to the Cube Queen herself, and that is the existence of a spirit world in Fortnite. Yeah, this season, a new challenge story has become available around Dark Jonesy, and it turns out he is a snapshot of Jon Jones who is actually corrupted by the dark energy of the cubes. And in his challenges, he tells you that the Imagined Order are in possession of scrolls that have information on something called a spirit vessel. Once you find one of these scrolls, it leads you to the spirit vessel's location, but because it's an artifact that's not of this world, you have to use it using a shadow stone. And then when you hand the spirit vessel to Dark Jonesy, he uses its power to see into the future. He tells us that Chapter 2 will end in one of two ways, either with sacrifice and loss or total annihilation. Either way, it's gonna shatter my heart into pieces. But let's rewind a second. You remember these scrolls? Well, now that we know it's just something that the Imagined Order has access to, it explains the entirety of Raz's story in Season 6. Back then, Raz tried to learn everything he could about the Spire and its secrets, so he explored the whole island and eventually found these Imagined Order scrolls, which then led him to the location of a spirit vessel. This time, the vessel was a shard of Kevin the Cube. As we all know, it corrupted Raz, turning him just like Dark Jonesy, and both of these guys seem to be corrupted by powers relating to the cubes and the dark energy surrounding them. Now, eventually, Raz, using the spirit vessel, summoned the Cube Queen to the Fortnite Island, so there is a direct connection here that goes way deeper than we could even imagine. And I gotta admit, I can't wait to learn more. While we're speaking of the Cube Queen, here is the secret weakness of the Queen. Everyone thinks that the Cube Queen is extremely powerful and that there's practically no shot at defeating her. I mean, yeah, her army of cubes is getting bigger by the day, and she definitely is not going to give up until we're all completely annihilated, but that doesn't mean the Queen is without weakness. In fact, we've figured out exactly why she is so set on corrupting the whole island. Instead of simply killing us with all the cubes, it looks like she actually can, until the entire island becomes the Sideways. Right now, the Queen can only open small portals around the map to the Sideways, and that's working to hold the IO off for now. But over at the Convergence, the Queen and the cubes are getting bigger and bigger, and inside of her corruption bubble, she's gearing up to put her evil plan in motion. Eventually, she'll shoot a rift in the sky and actually turn the entire map into the Sideways. And you might be asking why. Well, the cube monsters and the caretakers that she's bringing in from her homeworld actually can't survive on the regular island. You'll notice that if you try to lure one out of the sideways, or with how a caretaker drags you into the sideways when fighting you, that means without that sideways bubble, there is no army. And there is the Queen's weakness exposed. I can't help but wonder how the Imagined Order will take advantage of that in the meantime, but while we're here, let's tell you about the origin of the 0 point. One of the weirdest and most mysterious parts of the entire storyline has been the 0 point. Over the last few years, we've learned more and more information about this thing through comics, Donald Mustard, hints from characters, you get the point. In fact, the mystery of the 0 point has been going on for longer than we first ever thought. This thing has been teased since the rocket launch when the Visitor mentions it during the live event. But despite knowing about it since all the way back then, we still didn't know where the heck this thing even came from. What we knew was that it was the center of everything and is the most powerful energy in the entire universe. It's also the thing that connects every single reality together, which is why the Imagined Order uses it to open portals, and we'll get to that in a second. But where did the 0 point come from? Who created it? Well, the explanation is actually rather simple. It has been around since the creation of time. In fact, it was the 0 point that caused the Big Bang and created every single reality that has ever existed. And it lives in Reality Zero, aka our reality, an island it created to protect itself from any outside threats. And so with this powerful energy comes powerful enemies trying to control it, like the Imagined Order, who use it for all of their work, including traveling between realities. And so with that, let's talk about the Rift Secret. With the new Batman Foundation comic that was released last month, we learned exactly how the Imagined Order uses the 0 point to travel between realities. If you remember in Season 5, they actually opened up portals using the 0 point, and it brought a bunch of hunters onto the island. This type of portal is called a pure portal, and it's something that uses the 0 point directly to jump between realities. But then there's a different type of way to travel between realities, and it's the type of portal that the Seven and the Cube Queen use. It's called a sideways portal, and it's essentially the rifts we all know and love that have been around since Chapter 1. The gun John Jones uses in Season 5, sideways portal. And the rifts that the Cube Queen uses to summon her army. You guessed it, also a sideways portal. I will say this though, not to be confused with these sideways bubbles on the map right now, completely different thing. And now that you know about how the IO works, let's talk about the biggest secret of all about them and their leader, Gino. If you remember the trailer for Season 6, you might recall that the Foundation agreed to work with John Jones so that he could be led to a mysterious group of people known only as Gino and the Sisters. Anyway, Gino has already been revealed and no one is talking about it. You see, back in Corny Complex, where we already saw the picture of Sloane and Midas, we could then find Sloane as a young adult shaking the hand of a mysterious man. We didn't know who he was and assumed he could be Gino until the new Batman comic confirmed it. The Foundation states that the 0 point is in the hands of Gino, and right now we know that the 0 point is being controlled by the IO. Therefore, Gino owns the Imagined Order and is almost definitely the man in this photo. But that's not even the biggest secret, because there is something that I'm itching to know. It's possible that Gino is actually John Jones's father. Look at the resemblance. Side by side, he literally just looks like an old Jonesy with gelled back hair. You can't tell me Epic didn't do this on purpose. But that leaves the question, if this is Gino, who are the sisters? And don't worry, we got you covered talking about the sister secret. One of the things that has been puzzling the community for months has been the Imagined Order's logo. It has a ton of different symbols on it, and we haven't seen them anywhere else except for 2 different places. One of the runes in this logo could be spotted on Dr. Stone's battle armor, and the other rune was only seen during Season 6 on top of the Spire Towers. That's it, those are the only places we've seen these, and despite that, it actually reveals everything. Because we know that Gino is the leader of the IO, it means the sisters must also be a high rank. What high-ranking female boss do we know? Sloane, of course. The same Sloane that has the IO symbol on her armor. And look at that, there are 5 other runes that we have yet to learn about. So, all you have to do is connect the dots and you figure out that Sloane is probably one of the sisters and there are 5 others helping Gino run the IO. And so let's keep moving on, we have the future to talk about and what might be happening when the IO and the Queen finally end up fighting. And so with Chapter 3 upon us, we know the Chapter 3 map may be underneath the Chapter 2 map. Yes, everything's adding up to tell us that the Chapter 3 map is actually not going to be a new reformatted island like Chapter 2, but instead, it is underneath this island. If you've been up to date on the Chapter 3 rumors, you probably heard the fact that YouTubers like Tabor Hill or CypherPK have teased that the next season is Chapter 3, and then ended their videos with "Catch you on the flip side." And then Tabor Hill went even further and made a whole video quote-unquote theorizing that the Chapter 3 map will be below the current island. Not to mention, Donald Mustard updated his Twitter banner a couple days ago to a really mysterious image that shows the 0 point inside of an IO base underneath the map. Tabor is literally known for leaking stuff, and I doubt he'd make a theory video if he didn't know he was gonna be right. And so with the Chapter 3 map, we might actually get the grotto back. Since Season 3, the grotto has been completely filled to the brim with water and has remained untouched since. It's like everyone forgot about it, but inside of Epic Games, maybe not. You see, there are leaked phases for the grotto which show the water draining more and more throughout Season 8, and it's drained quite a bit already. On top of that, the files for Brutus and his bodyguards have been updated in a recent patch. And if you remember, there's even a loading screen in the Battle Pass that shows what the grotto might look like once it's fully drained. That means we could be seeing the return of this place either at the end of this season or on the new Chapter 3 map, and I cannot wait for that. And that's all the storyline secrets we have for you. Thanks so much for watching. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.